The secret is very simple, but yet very difficult, and there has to be prosperity. There has to be jobs. People have to be able to afford to buy a home and live in the community.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers, fiercely local, fiercely loyal.
I started thinking about 1984 and how different being a car dealer in 1984 was compared to now. Packard Electric was still very visible in our community with, I believe, 9,000 employees at the time. The Lordstown plant was still open, manufacturing. 1984, I think they were just gearing up for the Cavalier. I think that came out in 85, maybe. That I'd have to double check for sure.
And the van plant was still operating out there.
So there were 15, at peak employment, it was 15,000 employees there. Republic Steel sold to LTV in 1984, so that was very viable. Copper Weld Steel was still in business, and a number of smaller plants were still around, like the Ohio Lamp plant. Right. Then you think about the downtown, there were 4 major banks that had a presence. Union Savings and Trust, Second National Bank, Trumbull Savings and Loan, and First Federal. And they all had huge presence in the downtown area, multiple floors of employees working. The telephone company had a call center there. I think they had 70 or 80 employees that worked at their call center. So it just was such a different world than it is today. I think an important part of the community is good schools. And while Warren still has a way to go, I think we've seen some improvement over the last few years. That definitely has to happen. Trumbull Neighborhood Partnership has been a very positive force on this area with getting rid of the blighted homes and real estate and buildings in the area. That makes Warren look more attractive. The secret is very simple, but yet very difficult, and there has to be prosperity. There has to be jobs. People have to be able to afford to buy a home and live in the community. One thing I was thinking about was the interest rate environment in 1984. In the very early 80s, prime had reached 20%, and it had really been difficult to do business in that area. I looked up today, prime in 1984 vacillated between 11.5% and 13%. That means consumer rates to those people who had very good credit were 15, 16, 17%. People today, now that our interest rates have gone up to 8%, they think that's awful, but it's like it was double that in 1984. I remember Union Savings and Trust did a program where they had a special rate of 15.9%. And it was like 0% financing from the manufacturers. People were so excited and came in and bought cars because it was only 15.9%. That was a very critical area of doing business in 1984 and navigating through that cost of money, both on what the consumers had to pay and what the dealerships had to pay for the cost of their loans for financing automobiles and any loans they may have had. That was a huge difference.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers, fiercely local, fiercely loyal.